I'm coming to an inconvenient epiphany lately, and this is going to be controversial. You might not like what I'm about to say because it'll go against everything we're made to believe or have been told. If you are not where you want to be in your life, in your business, in your marriage, or financially, or whatever, right? This is about capacity and capability. It's because you're not capable or you don't have the capacity to be there yet. This is not a trick. I'm serious. If you want to be at some level and you're so frustrated and upset because you're not there, it's because you're not capable of being there. What do you mean you're not capable? You're totally capable. What do you mean you're not capable? Right? Because knowing is doing. And if I'm serious right now, knowing is doing. And if you know it, you don't know what you don't know. That's why you don't know what you don't know. That's why you don't have. If you knew what you knew, you'd have it. Because to know and not do is not to know. It means you don't know. Knowing is doing. If somebody is crying and whining and complaining about what they don't have in their life or where they're not at, the very fact that they're crying and complaining about it means that they literally don't have the capacity to do it, to be there. They don't have the capability. It's outside of their line of consciousness. You have lines, levels, states, and stages of consciousness. And the current stage of development that they're at, whether they have some psycho-emotional pattern, they have deep-seated emotional traumas leading all the way back to childhood, or they have some type of mental block, or their consciousness hasn't blossomed yet and spilled over into the next stage of development, because you have gross, subtle, and causal consciousness. I'm starting to believe that the people who can become successful extremely fast, there's something going on in their consciousness where they're maybe high logic, low emotion. I'll just get to the point, and this is going to sound crazy. It's almost criminal, their mindset. People who are very, very in touch with their feelings and really, really care about connecting with other people and what other people think, and you're more of an amiable, I think have a harder time growing in the world of commerce and business because it's so adversarial. Why would you make promises to people that you don't even know if you can keep these promises because you've never actually gone out and done it before? Because if you make promises, say to customers, right? And now you go out and you're actually lying to them. You're lying to their face, telling them you could do something. But you pull it off and you do it, right? It's a little different than something you've never done before. I believe that there are people right now, even maybe you watching right now, possibly some of you watching, that are struggling getting your business even in the next step because you're having these inner conflicts that are ripping you apart emotionally because you don't know where the lines and the boundaries are, and you can't feel these boundaries of how do you under promise and over deliver. And back to the criminal thing, it was just like a funny euphemism for, like, as long as you create the end result for the client and everything is right on in and out and up and down, and you start out at a low level of risk, maybe it's a little different than something you've done before, but you figure it out and you find all the resources and you get it done. I mean, unless you're doing something that's risky in a way that irreversible decisions, right? Landscaping is pretty much a low risk. If you mess something up, you can fix it. It'll be on your dime, it'll be on your dollar. It'll take you more time and money, and you should never ever walk off a job, right? I don't think it's smart to go take on some crazy $50,000 job if you have no idea what you're doing. You should work your way up to that level. But I mean, just think about, I'm just giving an example. What if you boldface just lied and made up that you can do some crazy thing and you hadn't done your due diligence and you were just winging it and you still don't know? What does that make you? Because the craziest thing is, that's where this inner conflict comes in. Because if you just turn on YouTube or turn on Instagram, you will literally have gurus telling you to go out and shoot for the stars and pull the trigger, go pull the trigger on all these things and make all these decisions. And go big or go home. But the inner conflict can come like, okay, so what if it blows up in your face? I never hear anybody talk about stuff like that. They never talk about, what if you do something totally horrible and then it ends up making you lose your business or getting sued or breaking your integrity, right? I believe that people first, things second. That includes money or anything or any benefit that you should get or would get or could get. You should make sure that you, when you make promises to customers, you bend over backwards and do everything within your power. That means everything within your power to make sure that even if you're just cutting someone's grass, that you make sure that the lines and stripes look beautiful, that everything is edged, everything is blown down. If you put a rock through one of those little basement windows, you go knock on the door and tell the customer, hey, I shot a rock through the window. I'm pretty sure I did it. I'm gonna, whether you're sure or not, if it wasn't there before, pay and get the window fixed. Like, just have integrity to the best of your knowledge and ability. But so when I was talking about not having certain capability, you can go down all these little tiny rabbit trails into infinity. And I really think it starts out with this inner compass that points to true north at all times. Your ability to manage and handle chaos in your consciousness without having a deep emotional connection to everything that happens, I think is in direct correlation to any success you might have. So Tony Robbins, he said, success is in direct correlation to the amount of the amount of discomfort you can comfortably live with, right? The amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with. Human beings crave certainty. So if you crave certainty and security so bad and you have these deep-seated emotional traumas and you're afraid to let go and just free fall into infinity, because that's terrifying, you got to cling to something, then of course you're not going to do anything that feels like a risk. You're not going to take any leaps. You might be locking yourself in the house. You're afraid to even ask somebody on a date, right? You're afraid to go find the love of your life because you're afraid of getting hurt, right? Maybe you're afraid of starting your business because you're afraid of failing, or you're afraid of taking it to the next level because you're afraid of something bad happening, right? And I think that it's like when you're climbing, you're going across monkey bars through the fog, you can only barely see the next monkey bar. And at some point, you have to learn how to fly off your gauges. Bobby Walker from Journey of a New Entrepreneur was telling me about this. He said sometimes you have to learn to fly from your gauges. So basically when you're in a plane and you're flying and there's a storm and you can't see anything, you have to look at the gauges on the dashboard and just trust things beyond your own control, right? So if you look in the past and you say, this is what usually happens, you got your finger on the pulse, and it's probably going to continue to go that way unless you make drastic changes. So there's something I want to talk about called the Black Swan. I just got finished eating lunch here on a landscape job. I just finished, I read a lot of books, audible.com. Finished a book called Traction, ton of books. A black swan is when something happens that's totally outside of the normal. They always thought swans were white. They went to like New Zealand or something, and all of a sudden they found a black swan, and it blew their mind, and they had to rewrite all the history books about animals or something. Now, when something bad happens that you would perceive as bad, you will start to now include that in your psychology. Is this going to be a new normal thing now? Is somebody going to pull like through the intersection and hit my truck every week now? Right? Is my dog going to get sick and be in the vet constantly? Is the trimmers going to blow up? Whatever. And it's probably not going to keep happening like that. It just happens once in a blue moon. It's a black swan. So therefore, you shouldn't include that as something that's now going to happen all the time and be totally freaked out and paranoid about it. We're terrified of the unknown. So back to what I was saying about capability and capacity in these lines, level, states, and stages of consciousness. You could take an ascended Buddha master. This is directly from Ken Wilber in his book Cosmic Consciousness. Like you can even like say Jesus, right? Rose all the way up. Let's use like a Buddha, for example. Rose all the way up to the highest level of that specific line of consciousness. And he became the most wise person in the planet. Buddha, about his Buddhism. Sorry, no disrespect, I mean. And even after he died, he never ever even hit a different line of consciousness, which could be a line of technological consciousness, right? So you can become the best in the world, literally, at a specific thing and never even cross over into different lines of consciousness. There are different lines, there's levels, there's states of consciousness, the state you're in. And how do you fix this? Oh, and there's stages of consciousness. They found that the only thing that can increase you to help you get beyond and grow your capability and capacity, in my words, now I'm saying, is that of meditation. It's imagine your chest is filled with a bunch of wires and buttons, and every time something happens in your life, you're in a constant state of anxiety and reaction. Therefore, you are that reduced down to that of a primate. You're a primate, and you can't think higher level, deeper thoughts. You can't think about complex mathematics, building systems, doing things that grow geometrically versus linear. You are stuck in the linear, third density physical trap of that of a primate. You were cavemen in fear and anxiety and survival mode. And that's very exhausting because you're in a reactive state. So I think very slowly meditating and pulling out the needles or the cords or the pranic strings, whatever you want to call it, of the things that are putting you in a reactive state, one by one, and getting you out of reactivity into proactivity. First, you have to get to a place of calmness and silence. So, I think about life living in this modern, Western world. Like you're in the batting cages, the batting cages, and there's like 6 of these things, and they're all turned on full blast, and they're just hitting you constantly, and you're swinging the bat wildly as hard as fast as you can. And like the funniest thing is you have to hit all 6 balls at once, non-stop. And if one ball slips past you, like a SWAT team comes out and just beats the crap out of you with nightsticks for like a half an hour straight and shames you and guilt trips you. And how could you have possibly missed that, you irresponsible expletive, right? Yeah, but I was busy hitting all other 5 balls. I was trying the best. Shut up and get up and hit the balls again. You just missed 20 more while you were laying there like a wuss getting beaten. Now you have to play catch up, right? So you can get so good at hitting all the balls at the same time that you're in this totally reactive state, and you can't miss one, because if you miss one, that means you're unproductive. It means you're a bad person. It means it can mean all these things. Like you're just like, you become this person who gets really, really, really good at just working your ass off in this totally reactive state. But now you can't turn off the batting cages, because any moment you're not doing that, you feel like a ball's going to just fly and smash you in the face out of the blue. You feel like a ball's going to hit you in the face because you're sitting down taking a break. And I look at it like ice cube trays and turning the water on and off. If you put water and you let it drip into one of the ice cube trays, it'll keep filling up all the rest of the trays. That your current capability and capacity is 12 ice cubes. What if you did 18, 36, 72, 128, 256, you kept going or something. Well, then you would have to sit back and relax and just trust that the water is just going to go into the next ice cube tray, just like it always has, the next cube in the tray, while you go out ahead of it. You get out of linear time and you go into geometric or quantum time, and you go out and you start building more cubes so that water can flow into it. Now you've increased your capacity. You've increased your capability. So there's the PPC balance that Stephen R. Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, wrote a book. He talks about production and production capability and choking the goose that lays the golden egg. Choking the goose that lays the golden egg. You're the goose. If you choke yourself and you force yourself to run, you can only pretty much do things in 90-day sprints. So I think it's very important to do a 90-day sprint and just work like mad. But then you have to take a moment of reflection to let your subconscious mind reshuffle the deck and find out what worked and what didn't work. Because if you have a lot of inner turmoil and resistance and emotional attachment to too many things that aren't the most important things, like I believe you should have an emotional attachment, I may be wrong, but to the jobs that you do if you're a contractor, right? As far as caring and really caring about serving the customer and making sure that they get a specific end result and you feel good and you got pride about it, right? But if you have way too much care, then you become too much, you become an empath and you wear your heart on your sleeve to the point where you're getting walked all over all the time. And being an empath can lead you to becoming narcissistic supply for like egomaniac type of people that they'll take advantage of that, and that's part of their nature, because there's different types of people in the world. So depending on where you are, you have to get in where you fit in. Very important to get in where you fit in, but also always be pushing up and expanding the boundaries of your comfort zone and seeing where you're at. Accepting the brutal reality of where you're at is the most important thing, and then starting to instill and develop habits in place and structures inside of the consciousness that allow these habits to start taking effect, that they run to they'll hit automaticity. So things like that are the things that can move you across. They can move the needle across the line through your conscious growth and development. So therefore you expand your consciousness, you move into a different line. I'm sorry, not a line. You move up to a higher stage of consciousness by becoming consciously aware of what state of consciousness you're in. This is kind of a tongue twister. So if you're normally in an anxiety reactive state, maybe you can get yourself in a place of meditation where let's see, you're on a job and you're a contractor, and normally you are in a state of reactivity. What if you practice being completely calm, as though you were just sitting by the water while doing something that previously would stress you out? And hold that place in your consciousness until new neurons start to wire new neural patterns in your brain and disconnect them from the amygdala. Because what they do is they're firing the part of the brain that is fight or flight for no real reason at all, except for that of the world of commerce and money is tied to your survival, because if you run out of money, you run out of oxygen and you die. So you're tying and you're wrapping and creating a stable datum. I got a whole video about that on my I Am Ability YouTube channel that I'll be coming out with soon. I woke up in the morning just freaking out. I was in this there's alpha, beta, delta, theta. I was in a theta state. I woke up in a dreamlike state and I had consciousness rushing through me, and I can see all the neurons in my brain, billions of them lighting up, and I saw the whirlwind of electricity creating stable datums in the consciousness, which are pathological knots. Some serve you, some hurt you. This is completely quantum. It's totally outside the realm of this third density consciousness of linear reality. This is quantum. It's spiritual. And I had this vision, and I have to still edit this video, and I'll put it up pretty soon here. But a stable datum is a whole belief system that's wrapped in the mind-body connection on every different level of you, that it's not even... It has nothing to do with right or wrong or good or bad or true or false. It's literally, let's just call it, for lack of a better word, a belief system that you create, that you tie everything around for your survival and protection. And the very things that used to make you survive when you were 6 or 9 or 12 or 15 or 20 are the very same belief systems that are hurting your growth and development right now. And that's why you're suffering, because you're trying to move onward and upward and expand your capacity, but you can't, because you had this neodymium magnet. You had this magnet that's pointing in a different direction, that's literally holding you back beyond your own control. And what it's doing is it's exhausting your willpower. And that's why this is happening, because it's literally gobbling up your willpower. It's a monster that it feeds on itself. So here's what I want you to do. Meditation. Quiet place you can go every day. Or maybe once a week you go to the woods for an hour. Shut off your phones. Find the things that hook you. If you're addicted to Instagram and you find yourself scrolling on the toilet for 20 minutes till your legs go numb looking at stupid crap. I've done that before. I was so ashamed of myself, man. You know, you're sitting on the toilet, man. You pop open your phone, and for some stupid reason you go on Instagram, and then the next thing you know, you just start scrolling and you go under complete hypnosis. And then you're like, oh my God, how did I get stuck looking at people doing crazy stuff or like doing backflips on a subway or something for like that long? I'll never get that time back in my whole life. And it's amazing stuff on there, right? So if you're constantly distracted by all these things constantly, it's gonna dumb us down, right? So getting conscious about that, creating a not to-do list. What are the things you are not going to do anymore? Who are the people that you're gonna cut out of your life, even if it's a family member, temporarily? How are you gonna regain control? By first letting go. Letting go. There's an amazing book by Dr. David R. Hawkins. That's what I'm listening to right now. It's called Letting Go. I'll put a link in the description below to audible.com, 30-day free trial. You even get free books. Just click the link. I'll put it there. Letting go. Books like this are amazing. Just being exposed to this information. I'm finally starting to come off of a 3-year plateau in my consciousness. I've been very, very frustrated. I can feel it. And I think there's different ways. There's enlightenment through suffering, which is the way of the cross. And then there's also different places of enlightenment where you can literally let go and it'll just dissolve from you, because like a beach ball floats up in water to its natural state. You elevate higher to the levels of universal and spiritual consciousness. When everything aligns up with your spirit, man, then the fleshy parts of the physical, which is the carnal mind, is an enmity against God, right? So well, how can you do that? Letting go, meditation. You could try becoming a vegan or a vegetarian, or you're only allowed to, you gotta fast 2 days a week for the next 6 months. Maybe you only drink water and you get rid of all sweets. You have to do things to break the chains inside of the psyche that are the deep intrinsic. Maybe you're a cigarette smoker and you can't put down cigarettes. You just have to go cold turkey. And anytime you even put a cigarette in your mouth and you catch yourself, you have to break the cigarette and the whole pack in half and throw it in the garbage and stop it and step it out. You know, maybe if you drink alcohol and you go to the bar, maybe you'll just park outside of the bar and you're not allowed to go in, draw a ring of fire around the bar, and if you step past that line, that means you're stepping past the integrity to yourself and your own life, and you just sit there and suffer with your mouth dry and just let that demon just burn and wither inside of you until it turns to ashes and literally just dissipates out of your life and is casted into dry places to never be assigned a return to any others. Maybe you need to go into the basement with the flashlight and hunt down the devil and chase him through a labyrinth. And when you shine a light on him, he runs, and you back him into a corner with a flashlight on him, and he's screaming, and you face him. And then when everything you shine the light on becomes light, right? Repeat this to yourself. Nothing has ever happened, and this is that. Because from this place, the place of no thing, there's nothing but pure, unfolding, infinite, pure awakened state. You're purely aware. You are now conscious. Consciousness. That's the answer to increase your capacity. Peace.